Have you ever wondered why no matter how much success you achieve, how many relationships you enter, or how many goals you conquer, there's still a lingering emptiness within you? Why is it that during the quietest nights, when no one is around and the noise of the world fades, a silent ache rises from within, an ache that feels ancient, almost as if it doesn't belong to your adult self? Carl Jung believed that this ache has a name. It is the silent cry of your inner child, the part of you that was once vibrant, curious, and full of wonder, but somewhere along the way got lost in the chaos of unmet needs, emotional wounds, and unspoken pain. And now, that child is still waiting for you to return. But here's the hardest question. Have you been ignoring that call? Before we dive deep into today's healing journey, take a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time you felt truly connected to your younger self? What did they need that was never given? And are you finally ready to sit with them, hold their hand, and walk them back home? Stay with me until the end of this video, because I'll share Carl Jung's profound wisdom on how to reconnect with this forgotten part of your soul. And if you're ready to take this journey even further, I've prepared a powerful self-healing guide that could change the way you see yourself forever. Check the pinned comment for more details. And don't forget to subscribe. This journey is just beginning, and you don't have to walk it alone. Shall we begin? Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And yet this is exactly what the lost inner child inside you has been waiting for: complete acceptance, without conditions, without judgment. But how do you begin to accept a part of you that you've spent years ignoring, silencing, or even rejecting? You see, most people believe that healing happens when everything around them changes, when life becomes calmer, relationships improve, and success finally arrives. But Jung taught us something revolutionary. True healing doesn't start from the outside in. It starts deep within. It begins when you look directly into the hidden corners of your soul, the ones filled with forgotten memories, suppressed emotions, and the echoes of a child who once asked for love and didn't receive it. Think back for a moment. Can you remember when you stopped dreaming freely? When you started questioning if you were good enough? That wasn't a coincidence. It was the moment your inner child quietly stepped back, retreating into the shadows, convinced they weren't worthy of your time or love. And here's the painful truth. The more you ignore this child, the louder their presence becomes. They appear in your moments of unexplained sadness, in the anxiety that tightens your chest for no clear reason, in the self-sabotaging patterns that destroy relationships and hold you back from the life you deeply desire. Carl Jung believed that this unresolved pain forms what he called the shadow, the hidden part of ourselves that carries all the things we refuse to face. But within that shadow lies the key to your freedom, because the moment you stop running from that child and start listening to their voice, that's the moment real healing begins. And in today's video, we'll walk through that process together. We'll explore how to recognize the signs that your inner child is still waiting for you, how to gently invite them back into your heart, and how to finally experience the freedom and emotional strength that comes with true inner healing. Are you ready to begin this journey toward wholeness? Let's dive in. The forgotten voice. How your inner child still speaks to you. You might think that the inner child is just a metaphor, a symbolic representation of your past. But according to Carl Jung, the inner child is very real. It is a living psychological reality stored within your unconscious, influencing your emotions, decisions, and relationships in ways you can't even imagine. And if left unattended, this hidden presence becomes the silent architect of your suffering. Think about it. How often do you experience sudden emotional reactions that seem disproportionate to the situation? Maybe someone offers you a harmless critique and you feel deeply wounded, or you find yourself pulling away from people who genuinely care about you, convinced they will leave you eventually. These aren't just random emotional outbursts. These are the unhealed wounds of your inner child speaking through you. Jung taught that this hidden child is trapped in what he called the complexes, psychological patterns created by unresolved emotional experiences. And like a child stuck in a moment of deep pain, these complexes never mature unless we consciously bring them into the light. But how does this child communicate? Through patterns of self-sabotage, through relationships that repeat the same painful, dynamics, through the constant feeling of not being enough, no matter how much you achieve. Have you ever stood in front of a mirror, looking at yourself, and felt like a fraud? Like someone wearing a mask, terrified that people might discover who you really are beneath it all? That's the voice of your forgotten inner child whispering, "Will anyone ever love me for who I am?" This is not weakness. This is not failure. This is a sacred call for healing. You see, the child you once were, pure, open-hearted, trusting, learned to hide behind masks because it was the only way to survive. Maybe you had to grow up too fast. Maybe you were told directly or indirectly that your emotions were too much, that you were a burden, or that your dreams were unrealistic. Over time, you learned to silence your desires, to downplay your needs, and to hide your authentic self to avoid rejection. But in doing so, you also abandoned a part of your soul. And here's the painful paradox: the very walls you built to protect yourself from pain have become the prison keeping you from love, connection, and peace. Jung believed that the path to individuation, the journey to becoming a whole and authentic human being, requires confronting this lost child, listening to their pain, and embracing them with compassion. Ask yourself, when was the last time you sat in silence and simply allowed your emotions to rise without judgment? When did you last hold space for your sadness, your fear, without trying to fix or hide it? That discomfort you feel when you sit in silence, that's your inner child knocking at the door of your consciousness. And every time you avoid that knock, you reinforce the message that they are still unworthy of your attention. But it doesn't have to be this way. The journey back to your inner child begins with small, courageous steps. It starts by recognizing the moments when you react from a place of old wounds rather than present reality. It's about noticing when you're avoiding difficult conversations, when you're numbing yourself with distractions, or when you're afraid to dream big because failure feels inevitable. These are all signs that the child within you is still waiting to be seen, heard, and loved. The healing starts when you gently say to that child within you, "I see you, I hear you, and you are safe with me now." In the next part of this journey, we'll explore exactly how to make peace with this lost child and begin the sacred work of integration. Because as Jung so beautifully taught, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate. Healing begins where you stopped running. The art of sitting with your pain. Most people spend their entire lives running, from pain, from failure, from the unbearable weight of their own memories. But what if I told you that the very thing you've been running from holds the key to the peace you've been desperately seeking? Carl Jung once wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." True healing doesn't come from denying or escaping the darkness within you. It comes from turning toward it, facing it with courage, and learning to hold space for what once felt unbearable. Your inner child doesn't need you to become perfect. It doesn't need you to erase the past. What it longs for is acknowledgement, validation, the simple healing words, "Yes, that did hurt, and you didn't deserve that." But how do we begin this process? How do we sit with pain without being consumed by it? First, you must understand this fundamental truth. Pain is not your enemy. Avoidance is. Every time you suppress your sadness, distract yourself from your anxiety, or numb your anger, you send a clear message to your inner child that their pain is still unwelcome. And just like any child, if they are ignored long enough, they will find louder, more destructive ways to be noticed. That's why emotional avoidance often leads to cycles of self-sabotage, toxic relationships, addiction, and burnout. So, the first step is to simply stop running. Find a quiet place. Sit down, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and instead of trying to force the pain away, ask it a question. What do you want me to know? You'll be amazed at what surfaces. Maybe you'll remember a moment when you were a child, standing, alone in a crowded room, invisible to the people who were supposed to love you. Maybe you'll feel the weight of a parent's harsh words, or the crushing silence that followed your cries for help. These memories aren't appearing to punish you. They're rising because they are ready to be healed. You must become the loving, compassionate parent that your inner child never had. And that means staying present when things get uncomfortable, holding yourself through the storm instead of abandoning yourself again. When the tears come, and they will, let them fall. Tears are the soul's way of cleansing old wounds. In this space of raw vulnerability, something extraordinary happens. You begin to see that the pain isn't infinite. It passes like a storm, and each time you survive it, each time you remain present instead of running, you grow stronger. You build trust with yourself. Your inner child begins to believe that maybe, just maybe, it's safe to open up again. This is not an overnight transformation. Healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel like you've made incredible progress, and the next you'll feel like you're right back where you started. That's okay. Be gentle with yourself. Jung believed that the process of individuation, the journey toward wholeness, requires embracing these cycles, honoring both the progress and the setbacks. And here's something crucial to understand. Healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were before the world convinced you that you weren't enough. Can you imagine meeting your younger self today? That innocent, bright-eyed child who believed in magic and dreamed without fear. What would you say to them? Would you criticize them the way you criticize yourself now? Or would you kneel down, look them in the eyes and say, "You are enough, just as you are, and you always were"? The truth is, every time you silence your inner critic, every time you offer yourself a moment of grace instead of harsh judgment, you are healing that forgotten child. You're teaching them that it's safe to be seen, to be heard, to take up space. And slowly that child begins to trust again. In the final part of this journey, we'll uncover how to fully integrate this healed version of yourself into your daily life so that you no longer live in survival mode, but in a state of calm, unshakable presence. Are you ready to meet that version of yourself, the one who isn't defined by old wounds, but by new possibilities? Let's go there, together. How to heal your inner child and reconnect with your true self. 900 words. There's a hidden place within you, a sanctuary untouched by the world's expectations, untouched by the weight of adulthood. This place is where your inner child resides, and no matter how far you've strayed from it, it waits patiently for your return. Healing this child is not about revisiting the past to remain trapped there. It's about returning to free the version of you that still believes it's unworthy of love, happiness, and peace. Carl Jung taught that the path to individuation, the journey of becoming whole, requires embracing all aspects of yourself, especially the parts you've neglected. And no part is more neglected than your inner child. It's the version of you that once believed in magic before the world taught you to be cynical. It's the version that loved openly before betrayal taught you to guard your heart. And now, it's the version of you that quietly suffers when you criticize yourself harshly, avoid vulnerability, or settle for less than you deserve. So, how do you begin this healing? How do you approach the child within when you've ignored their cries for so long? It starts with acknowledgement, recognizing that despite everything you've achieved or endured, a part of you still longs for the simplest things: acceptance, safety, joy. When was the last time you felt those emotions freely? When did you last allow yourself to play without guilt or express love without fear? The first step is to listen. In moments of silence, ask yourself, what did I need most as a child that I never received? Was it reassurance, protection, unconditional love? Let the answers rise naturally without judgment. This is your inner child speaking to you, often for the first time in years. And once you hear that voice, don't dismiss it. Create a safe space through journaling, meditation, or even speaking aloud, where that child can finally express what they've held back for so long. Next, practice reparenting. Imagine how you would care for a child who feels lost or afraid. Would you criticize them for their fears, or would you gently hold their hand and say, "It's okay, I'm here now"? Begin speaking to yourself with the same compassion. Replace the harsh inner critic with a nurturing inner guardian. Affirm to yourself, you are safe now, you are loved. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. This practice isn't just a mental exercise, it's a way of rewiring your nervous system. Each time you respond to yourself with kindness rather than criticism, you send a signal to your mind and body that you're no longer living in the environment that created those original wounds. You're building a new foundation where love, Acceptance and security are the norms, not the exceptions. Carl Jung often emphasized the importance of symbols and imagination in healing. Use this to your advantage. Visualize meeting your younger self. See them standing before you. How do they look? Are their shoulders slumped? Are their eyes filled with sadness or hope? Reach out to them in this vision and offer the embrace they've been waiting for. Speak the words they needed to hear but never did. You are enough, you've always been enough. This inner dialogue might feel uncomfortable at first, but with time, it becomes one of the most healing conversations you'll ever have. And the beauty of it is, you can return to this space anytime life feels overwhelming. Whenever you face rejection or failure, remind yourself that you're no longer abandoning your inner child. You are their protector now. As you continue this process, you'll start to notice changes in how you interact with the world. You'll stop seeking validation from people who can't offer it. You'll walk away from situations that dishonor your worth. And most importantly, you'll stop betraying yourself to meet others' expectations. This is what true self-love looks like. It's not about grand gestures or affirmations shouted into the void. It's about the quiet, consistent choice to show up for yourself every day, especially when it's hard. It's about setting boundaries that honor your emotional safety, even if it disappoints others. And it's about forgiving yourself for the times you didn't know how to do this. Healing your inner child is the key to unlocking the freedom and peace you've been searching for externally. It's the bridge back to your authentic self, the self who loves without fear, dreams without limits, and lives without the constant burden of shame. Take this moment to reflect deeply. What is one small way you can show up for your inner child today? Is it resting when you feel exhausted? Is it allowing yourself to create something beautiful without judging the outcome? Is it finally saying no to something that drains you? Whatever it is, make that choice. And with every step you take toward healing, remember, you are not broken. You are becoming whole. Your inner child isn't lost. They're simply waiting for you to take their hand and walk them home. And now, as we reach the end of this journey together, I want to leave you with a truth that transcends time, theory, and even the most painful chapters of your life. Your inner child has never stopped waiting for you. Beneath the layers of silence, behind the walls built to survive, that child still holds the key to your most authentic self, to the life of emotional freedom and peace you've been searching for. Carl Jung taught that healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you truly are. That child inside you never asked to be broken, never wanted to be silenced. And though you may have walked far from their voice, their presence remains, quietly waiting for the day you'd return, with open arms and a heart ready to listen. Maybe that day is today, because here's the most profound truth. You don't need to have it all figured out to begin. You don't need to have all the answers or feel entirely ready. You simply need to take the first step, to sit with yourself in silence, to embrace the discomfort, to offer compassion where you once offered criticism. And from that place, you'll begin to see the small, beautiful signs of healing. So I invite you now to take that step. Subscribe to this channel and stay connected to this space of healing and growth. And if you're ready to dive deeper into the wisdom of Carl Jung and truly transform the relationship you have with yourself, explore the life-changing insights in my ebook. It's a guide crafted to help you navigate these deep wounds and unlock the healing that has always been within your reach. Your journey back to yourself doesn't end here. In many ways, it's just beginning. If you feel this message resonated with your heart today, leave a comment below. I am ready to listen. To my inner child, say it for yourself, declare it to the universe. Let today be the day you start walking home, back to who you were always meant to be.